And joining us now to talk about that and everything related to the state of affairs for the Blazers, assistant coach Jay Triano. Coach, how you doing, first of all? And secondly, I always think that NBA schedule-wise that after a road trip of at least 4 games or more, that they should give you 2 days back home before the first game to kind of get organized, get settled back in. And this is one time when the NBA did that for us, so at least a little opportunity to get everybody back home and get organized and get ready for, as we say, an important game coming up in 2 nights.
Yeah, it's going to be a big rematch for us for sure, and it's nice to get home and have a day to recover from being on the road. And we'll get back at it at practice tomorrow, and hopefully we play better than we did in Dallas. And I give Dallas a lot of credit. They had 2 or 3 players that played great basketball against us, and we've got to be equal to the task once we get back home.
Coach, you mentioned played better than you did in Dallas. Overall, it didn't seem like the team played bad. There were a couple of plays here and there where maybe Dallas took advantage of some things, but overall, I thought the effort was good. Maybe some defensive lapses from time to time, but those kind of things happen on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, we made, I think, 18 threes in the game, and I thought we shot the ball well and executed it. We need to be a little bit sharper. I mean, last 12 games of the season, 11 now, we're going to have to be really, really good at the offensive end and execute, make shots. And I think that Dallas was a little bit better at that. I mean, Dirk had a big night. Darren Williams was solid. Mesri came out of nowhere and had a big game. And that's what you have to do when your playoff hopes are on the line. And, we knew Dallas was a desperate team. And will be when they come into our building on Wednesday night. So, it's fine-tuning everything right now, and we've got to make sure that we're sharp the rest of the way. And I think you touched on it, so defensively is where we can't afford to give teams confidence, and we've got to be the grinding team that has stopped teams for a large part this year.
Darren Williams is a former 4-time All-Star, but he had a really difficult stint during his career in Brooklyn. Now coming back home to Texas, he's a local product in that respect, and the Mavericks got him cheaply enough, and before the season they were hoping to maybe have him have a throwback to some of his earlier days. And interestingly enough, in 2 games against the Blazers, now 30 and 31 points, he's proven to be a very difficult cover and kind of has turned back the clock in some respects, it appears, to some of the glory days that he had previously, primarily when he was with the Jazz before.
Yeah, he looks like a completely different player than the player that we've seen the last couple of years, and it's happened both times that we played against him. He's being able to make 3-point shots. He's distributing the basketball. He just seems to have that whole team in a good rhythm. And he's a tough match for us because he's physically strong. He's got an ability to shoot the basketball, and he makes sure that Dirk gets his touches, which is important when you're, leading the way for the Mavs. And, even last night, you get a little bit of a luck. He banks in a 3. So it's tough, but, hey, we got to be equal to the task. And, I think our guys were a little bit tired, end of a road trip. We've had a lot of games on the road. It'll be nice to get home for the final stretch here.
Coach, there's that old saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. I don't even know what the second part is. But the point I'm making is Salah Mejri kind of came out of nowhere last night. I don't even know how you scout for a guy that's so far down the bench. I was that guy, as a matter of fact. And, the first time he comes out, he burns you a bit. I got to think the guys will be more aware of who and what he can do the next time.
Yeah, and it wasn't like we didn't know what he could do. I mean, he's in the league, so – from his experience in Europe, he blocks shots, he finishes around the rim, and that's exactly what he did. And he was thrown into a situation where they were desperate. I mean, with Parsons out, and Carlisle didn't like the way that they started with Pachulia, so he gave David Lee a little bit of a chance, and we seemed to be playing very well at the time. So he got a little bit desperate and went deep into his bench and found a guy that seemed to change the game for them. He changed shots, he blocked shots, and took away our effectiveness at the rim. So, it was a tough matchup, and, we've got to be able to try to drag him away and move him away from the basket, maybe put him in more screening roles than we did last night.
Is that a situation where not having a guy like Myers Leonard kind of hurts you because Myers does have that ability to pull him away from the rim?
Yeah, that's a good point, Tone. If Myers is in a game like that, he can guard a big guy like that, and I don't know how Sal Mejri gets to the perimeter and defends a guy like Myers. So, there's not a lot we can do about injuries. Injuries happen in the game, but we've got to make sure that we try to get him and move him away from the basket. But we may have kick-started this kid's career.
Now, Coach, you mentioned Myers, and obviously frustrating that his injury happens in a pickup game in practice, essentially on the road, and dislocates that left shoulder again. And so obviously that's been something that's been troubling him off and on for this season. I know you just got back into town, but do we have any update on how he's feeling, where he's at, and if we have any idea of how close he might be to returning?
I don't. We talked about it as a staff a little bit, and we heard that, we knew that he came back early to start his treatment process. But I don't really have an update for you on that. I'm not sure where he stands. But he's been a big part of our team this year as far as his ability to stretch out defenses and create a problem at the offensive end, or for visiting teams.
Coach, I don't understand it, man. When I played in the late 90s, they just shot you with cortisone and put you back out there. So what if your shoulder fell off when you were 35?
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking to a guy who grew up with a hockey background, and you got stitches on the bench and went off play. So
it's a different world. Yes, they take better care of the athletes, rightfully so, by the way. But it's a slightly different than what we had, Coach.
Absolutely.
Coach, we were taking a look at schedules for everybody remaining the rest of the way, and it's pretty nice. You go through this rough stretch, 11 out of 13 on the road, and yet you find yourself, as you look at the standings, in the 6th spot by yourself in a position that still you can control your own destiny, and that's where everybody wants to be. You don't need help from anybody else, and you've got a favorable schedule in terms of home versus road rest of the way. So you've set yourself up in a position where not only can you put yourself in the playoffs, but you can dictate maybe the exact seeding that you're going to hopefully have once you get there.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Wheels, and it was, what we're like. I mean, we're all competitive, and last night's song, sitting on the airplane on the way home, and then we started to be a little bit more realistic about it. Said, hey, listen, we've gone through the toughest part of our schedule, being away, being on the road. We know that we've got a home stretch coming, and we're still hanging on to that 6th spot. So now it's in our hands, and we've got to make sure that we take care of business at home and play well on our home court. And if we can do that and beat the teams that we're supposed to be, we're going to be in a very good spot.
Now, as you look ahead at what remains, and this young team has grown in so many respects, and I love what Damian had to say after the game last night, that he's not going to let this team not make the playoffs. It seems like there's been some great internal growth. We've expected that Damian would embrace the role of leader. He's done that very well. He mentioned Gerald as another guy that has helped out in that respect as the season has gone on. It just seems like collectively this team has done everything that everyone had hoped it would in terms of growing as a group and gaining confidence and feeling like, hey, we put ourselves in a position that not a lot of people thought we would be at, and here we are with 11 games left, and we're still in a position where we can prove a whole lot of doubters wrong.
Right, and that's the attitude that we've had from the beginning of the year. People didn't expect that we'd be in the mix here. They thought we'd be in the mix for a lottery pick, and I think our guys take that personally, and I know as a staff we do, and Coach Stotts did a great job of getting us to believe that we actually had a chance of making the playoffs. We had to go on a run. We did go on the run. And you're right. Now we've got 11 games to try to finish the deal and seal the deal. And it's going to be an exciting 11 games. It's going to be tough for us. We've got to stay locked in. We've got to stay focused. And I know at this time of year you like to look around the league at what other teams are doing and who's playing well and whether you get any help from other teams. But, hey, we're in a good spot where, our destiny lies in our own hands right now. We've got to be sharp.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. We'll let you enjoy a rare night off. As you said, back to work at practice tomorrow, hopefully a productive one, and then we'll see you here at the arena on Wednesday, and hopefully a little payback in the rematch with the Mavs.
I sure hope so. All right. Appreciate being on with you guys. Thank you.